Chapter 4. Recipes are often changed to produce more or less food to meet the demands of a particular kitchen. Food service employees need to be able to calculate new ingredient measurements to account for these changes in recipes. Often, measurements may need to be converted to different units of measure. Factors such as cooking times and temperatures also need to be taken into account when recipes are changed. By using solid math skills and paying close attention to detail, accurate changes can be made to recipes while maintaining the quality of the food prepared. To convert a measurement to a different unit within the same measurement system, the measurement is first written as a fraction. The next step is to identify the conversion factor that the original measurement can be multiplied by to convert it to the equivalent measurement. Then the original measurement is multiplied by the equivalent, which is written so that the unit in the denominator is the same as a unit in the original measurement. When multiplied, the unit in the denominator of the original measurement cancels the matching unit in the denominator of the written equivalent. Then the numerator is divided by the denominator to obtain the final answer. The canceling method works for any measurement conversion within the same measurement system, as long as the appropriate conversion factor is known. To convert a measurement to a different unit within the same measurement system, the measurement is first written as a fraction. The next step is to identify the conversion factor that the original measurement can be multiplied by to convert it to the equivalent measurement. Then the original measurement is multiplied by the equivalent, which is written so that the unit in the denominator is the same as a unit in the original measurement. When multiplied, the unit in the denominator of the original measurement cancels the matching unit in the denominator of the written equivalent. Then the numerator is divided by the denominator to obtain the final answer. The canceling method works for any measurement conversion within the same measurement system, as long as the appropriate conversion factor is known. When converting between customary and metric measurements, it is common to calculate answers as decimals. Decimal answers are rounded based on the degree of accuracy required for that ingredient in the recipe. In some instances, two measurement equivalents will need to be used in one conversion calculation. Converting between volume and weight measurements is often necessary because food products cannot always be purchased in the same units that they are called for in a recipe. Volume to weight equivalent tables can be referenced as needed. Equivalents between volume and weight units are approximations based on how much a given volume of an ingredient will weigh on a scale. It is important to remember that volume to weight equivalents are approximate and care must be taken to reference the most approximate entry in an equivalence table. Volume to weight equivalents can be used to convert volume measurements to weight measurements. Volume to weight equivalents can also be used to convert weight measurements to obtain volume measurements. A kitchen calculator can be used to quickly convert units of measure, scale recipes, and alter the number of servings for a recipe. It is important to be able to mentally estimate answers to all conversion and scaling calculations, even when a calculator is used. Otherwise, any error made by inputting an incorrect number or unit of measure, or by pushing an incorrect key on the calculator keypad, can result in one or more wrong answers. It is important to remember that a calculator cannot be used to convert volume to weight nor weight to volume because of the differences in density. Once math concepts are understood in terms of when and how they are applied, a kitchen calculator can be an efficient tool. Scaling is the process of calculating new amounts for each ingredient in a recipe when the total amount of food the recipe makes is changed. Food service employees not only need to know how to calculate new ingredient amounts when recipes are scaled, but they also need to understand how scaling can affect other elements of a recipe. Most standardized recipes usually contain the following common elements: a recipe name, yield, portion size, ingredients and procedures, cooking temperature, cooking time, and nutritional information. Portion size is the amount of a food or beverage item that is served to an individual person. Portion size is related to yield. For example, a soup recipe that yields 1 gallon can also be said to yield 16 portions of 8 fluid ounces each. Regardless of the reason for scaling a recipe, the scaling process starts out by calculating a scaling factor. A scaling factor is the number of each ingredient amount and the recipe yield are multiplied by in order to increase or decrease a recipe. Scaling can be based on count, volume, weight, or portion size. Once a scaled factor is known, every ingredient amount in the original recipe is multiplied by the scaling factor. Note, it may be necessary to convert some of the new ingredient amounts to a different unit of measure to make the measuring of the ingredient more efficient. In some cases, a recipe is scaled because the amount of one ingredient needs to be changed based on availability. The scaling factor is calculated by dividing the available ingredient amount by the original ingredient amount. Adjusting measurements. If a new measurement is calculated that is not easily measured, the measurement will need to be adjusted to make measuring more practical. Adjusting cooking temperature. In certain circumstances, such as when a recipe yield is significantly decreased, it may be necessary to reduce the cooking temperature to keep the food from drying out. Adjusting cooking time. The cooking time for a recipe may need to be increased or decreased.